Hey, Tracy here from Indigo Journey. I'm back again to talk to you about how to recover from mistakes. The last couple of episodes we've talked about pronouns and new names for people who are trans or gender diverse and how to recover from making mistakes using old names and old pronouns, and also how to take care of yourself, be kind to yourself when you make those mistakes, and how to commit to making the changes and refocusing your attention on the new name and the new pronoun and making those changes rather than the struggles and the difficulties. Today we're going to talk about heteronormative language and how to make changes around that language, how to become more aware of it, and why it's important to begin to broaden your language outside of the heteronormative. Now, that may be a word that you're familiar with, or it may be a word that you've never heard before, or you've heard and you're not really 100% sure what we mean by that. But the basic explanation around the word heteronormative language or heteronormativity is that the assumption that people are straight. And I would expand that to be also around the assumption that people are cis. That is, a person who identifies with their gender that they were assigned at birth. And so all we're really talking about today is expanding our language to be more inclusive and understanding why this is important. And the basic reason that this is important is because when we use more inclusive language, we are sending a very clear message to our loved ones and to anybody else in the world that we are a safe person, that we're a person that is supportive and open and understand that not everybody's experience is the same. When we talk about sexuality, when we talk about gender identity, and to be honest, when we talk about anything really, not everybody's experience is the same. And if we can use more open, inclusive language, then that is going to make a significant difference to them and their experience in the world, to you and your interactions with them and your relationship with them, because they are going to feel safer with you. They're going to feel more supported, and they're going to know that you are open and you're learning and you're doing your best to understand them and their experience in the world. So what I would encourage you to do is do some research. Do some research around inclusive alternatives to certain different words and language, because there are lots of different words that we use. And what jumps to me right now is the they, them pronouns. That is such a big conversation, and we're not going to go into depth with it today. But it's a couple of words, they, them, and their, that people really attach the plural to. Now, that's understandable because that is the most common way that people use they, them, and their when they're talking about more than one person. However, the truth is that we use they, them, and their in lots of different ways when we're referring to one person. And it's usually when we're referring to one person and we don't know their gender. So when we have an individual person who's requesting us to use they, them, their pronouns when we refer to them, it's pretty much the same thing. It's either that we don't know their gender, or their gender doesn't sit clearly in the binary of male or female. And this isn't a video to go into the depths of non-binary folk and how they identify, but it's the same kind of thing. If we don't know someone's gender, we can refer to somebody, an individual person, using they, them, their pronouns. So if a person doesn't identify with solely the binary gender, male and female, which is where we use she, he, her, him pronouns, then it's exactly the same. We can use they, them, their. So that's one example of exploring the realities and of the alternative language that we can use. So Google, you literally can say, what's an alternative word for this? Anything that is that doesn't feel really inclusive around sexuality and gender identity. And I'm sure Google will tell you. There's a whole bunch of different things, but I'm not going to advertise all of those. And also, you know, people like me, I have a glossary of terms available for you. So if you want something easy and accessible, you can jump on my website and access that, indigojourney.co. But there are lots of different people also that have different glossaries of terms and language and labels that you can explore to broaden your understanding and also the access that you have to different language. The last thing that I wanted to say around heteronormativity, and I guess this is partly around the language, but I want to invite you to become more aware of humor and how often jokes and silliness and humor can center around a queer person's identity, where it can, the punchline can center around that and how harmful that can be. You know, over recent years, or, you know, well, hopefully not too recent, we've started learning more and more about how jokes and different riddles and different things that without us realizing often that they can be quite offensive to some groups within our community. And if that's the case, we're not talking about political correctness here. What we're talking about is being open and loving and caring and considerate of other people's feelings. If it doesn't affect you, that doesn't mean that it doesn't affect other people. And it doesn't mean that people are getting carried away with political correctness just because they're asking you not to use that riddle or not to use that word or that language or not to use that joke or say that joke anymore because it centers a queer person in the punchline of it. The other thing, and you might be sitting there saying, Tracy, I don't do that. And if you are, I love you, thank you. I'm very grateful that you don't. And also, can you take it another step further? Can you become a stronger ally by firstly not laughing at those jokes? And secondly, not allowing those jokes to go unaddressed, or the language or the words that are being used inappropriately. You know, that's so gay is a common saying that, you know, we hopefully are letting go of that, and it's been addressed for many, many years now, but I still hear it. And what does that mean? When we're saying that's so gay, we're saying something is silly or ridiculous or horrible, or we're saying it's something negative, that thing that we're talking about, that. And when we say it's gay, that then means we're referring to gay as being that negative, being silly or wrong or any of those things. And I know there are many gay people who will just let that roll off their shoulders and who are not that worried about it. And they might tell you, oh, like, I don't care about that. And that's great for them. But I can tell you, after working with hundreds and hundreds of young people and adults, that it is hurtful for the majority of queer folk. So if you can step up and be an ally, be a stronger ally, and when it feels safe for you, of course, to address those jokes, to put a stop to that kind of language. And at the very least, if you're really not feeling comfortable or not feeling safe, and I know that happens sometimes, to at least not laugh at the joke. I know you've got this because I know you can do hard things. And I know that you love your child. I know that you love your loved ones and that you want what's best for them. And I know that it's important to you to make this world a much safer and more inclusive space for everybody, including the LGBTQIA+ community. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for putting yourself out of your comfort zone so that you can learn these new things and you can commit yourself to creating change in your own life and for those outside of your life. Take care. Bye for now.